To today's masterclass. For those of you who were part of the crew in Austin, check it out. It fits again. I'm so excited about that. Anyways, for those of you who weren't part of our Austin crew, the Gems in Austin, this is our logo. I don't sweat, I sparkle. Movement's important, right? That's not necessarily what we're talking about today, at least not that kind of movement. Today, what we're going to talk about is gut health and its connection to food sensitivities. Many of the food sensitivities nowadays are actually being connected to various gut health issues. Now, we're going to get through this entire program. I'm going to go through all of this, and then at the very end, I have a special surprise for you. And any of your questions, that's when we're going to answer it. I want to make sure if you're watching this replay or if you're coming back to rewatch certain segments of it, that there's not a lot of interruptions. So we'll go through Q&A at the very end. I have a special surprise for you at the very end, freebie just for everybody who watches here. But there is going to be one thing that you need to do so that you can get your freebie. So stick with me and let's get started, okay? Very first thing, I wanted to throw some stats at you guys. Now, for those of you who don't know me, who haven't met me before, my name is Bonnie. I am a holistic nutritionist. I've been in fitness and nutrition for almost 18 years now. I don't know where, I'm a little scared to say that because it sounds so long. It's hard to imagine I've been in this field that long. But I have, and I've worked with a number of very unique cases. It just happens to be my thing. If it's unique, it's come into my lap, and I love it. So this topic today, gut health and food sensitivities and this connection, has come up a lot over the last couple of months, especially with the Check My Body Health special deal they had coming out. I had a lot of you guys take advantage of that. So first of all, from an affiliate perspective, thank you very much. I get a few pennies for each one of those. Especially on special deals, I really don't, it's a couple pennies, it's not that much. But I appreciate the fact that they allow us to share those deals with you guys, because for some of you trying to go and get an allergy and sensitivity test without help from an insurance company, it can get pretty pricey. So I appreciate that they allow that to happen, and whether anything comes into my pocket or not, the fact that you guys have a chance to test and just concretely confirm your suspicions or identify other things that you may not have realized was an issue, this being one of them. A number of people who took advantage of the Check My Body Health special deals actually came back with a lot of sensitivities, and their gut health being very, very poor. Okay, meaning they really didn't have a lot of good bacteria in their gut. Their microbiome was just, it was lacking. And we needed to boost those up. So since that was obviously an issue, I thought it should be our next focus point. There's a lot of people in this world who fight this. So let me throw some stats at you real quick. 85% of Americans, this is from National Institutes of Health, 85% of Americans suffer from some sort of gut dysfunction. 6 in 10 of those are fighting chronic illness, okay? In 2012, now it's been a few years, so it's been 10 years, so you can imagine these numbers have increased, but I haven't found any recent numbers that I can rely on. I'm real picky about my sources here. So in 2012, 15.4% of Americans were diagnosed with some sort of autoimmune dysfunction. Now, diagnosed, that means they went into a doctor, they were tested, and they actually had some sort of lab results come back. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's everybody in the world or everybody in the country. I only went with Americans right now. I only went with the U.S. Now, 12% of Americans have some sort of food sensitivity, intolerance, or allergy. Now, given that that is such a high number. So you got 15.4% of Americans who were diagnosed with some sort of autoimmune dysfunction. 12% of us have some sort of food sensitivity intolerance. Again, on record, doesn't mean that, that's everybody. And 85% of us suffer from some sort of gut dysfunction. There has to be a connection. I even found something that actually said that half the people who suffer from gut dysfunction are also suffering from food sensitivities and possibly allergies. Now, allergies only make up about 2%. A true allergy is pretty rare. Okay? It's becoming more common, but in comparison to sensitivities and intolerances, true allergies, are pretty rare. Allergies and sensitivities, though, have been linked as the 6th most common denominator in the development of chronic illness and autoimmune disease. Okay. Why does this matter to you? So our gut metabolizes, digests, and what we're talking about when I say gut, we're talking about your intestines, we are talking about your liver, we are talking about your stomach, we are talking about your elimination systems, your kidneys, everything. Yes, the bulk of what we're going to talk about today is what happens within your stomach and your intestines. However, those are all linked to everything else. If it's part of your digestive system and your elimination system, it applies to our discussion today. Now, with all of these stats and statistics, it goes without saying that there's some sort of connection between food sensitivities and gut imbalance, right? What a lot of practitioners are now finding is if you repair the gut, if you heal the gut in someone who is suffering, then a lot of those food sensitivities, they go away. There are foods that are harder for our body to digest than other foods. And a lot of the more common sensitivities that you see out there, dairy, gluten, soy, nuts, plain sugar, but sugar's whatever. We should be eating plain sugar anyway. Those are things that are popping up. And one thing I'm seeing a lot recently is citrus. People are having an issue with citrus. But citrus is an easy to digest food, right? It seems to all stem from this imbalance within our gut. And there are practitioners upon practitioners that I have on Facebook, I have on LinkedIn, I see them on YouTube, I see studies coming out. There are people left and right coming out with this connection between the two. So that's why I wanted to do this talk today, because ultimately what you guys need to do is heal something so that this thing that you're suffering from is minimized, right? Or eliminated. You want to go just live life. You don't want to have to deal with all of this excess ins and outs, right? The little tidbits. That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, the very first question I put in the description was, how do you know that you have a gut imbalance or a gut dysfunction without testing? We are going to get there. I want to go through the top 4 tests, though, because in extreme cases, while you obviously know there's an issue in an extreme case, in something where you're truly suffering, it is obvious, and your food sensitivities are running amok. And here's what I mean by that. You start with just a few sensitivities. And yeah, your gut's iffy, but if you eat this food, you get heartburn. If you eat that food, you get a little acid reflux. Eat that, you bloat a little bit. Not so much nausea, just, minor symptoms here and there. And then all of a sudden, the number of foods that are triggering these reactions starts to increase. And your list goes from 4 or 5, not a big deal, to now you've got 20 on your list. And it's growing. It's not getting better. And your symptoms, in some cases, are getting worse. They're not improving. They're not going away. You can't figure out what you're supposed to do because the amount of foods that you are able to eat now is diminishing, right? In those cases, it is safe to say you have some sort of gut imbalance. Identifying what that is may or may not be something that's within your wheelhouse. If it is, because I am a big fan of science, I am a big fan of lab testing because that gives you a concrete answer. It tells you without a doubt, here's what the lab reports say, go heal, here's what we can do about it. Versus, here's the programs that we have, here's the things that we can do, and here's what will help it. So it's more of a generic protocol versus specific. Okay, and when we get specific, the specificities are within food choices, supplementation, and basically your overall reintroduction process. Because any reset, if you listen to the live this week, any reset has, and cleanse, detox, whatever you want to call it, challenge, you have to allow for a reintroduction process. You're going back to living a healthier life. Yes, it's an improvement on what you started with, what you entered that reset with. But you're leaving and you want to maintain what you have started. You want to continue to improve what you have started. Okay? In doing so, testing might just be the thing for you. So let's go through these 4 tests real quick, all right? There's the organic acid test, and just, sorry, tangent. I have ADHD, you guys. If you have not listened to me, you have not heard this. If you have, my apologies for repeating it. But it's a good note that I like to share with the people watching, especially newbies. I always have talking points listed out. I have ADHD, so I can take these and run on my tangents, my talking points, help me stay on track, and help me give you the information you need, not this tangent and that tangent. So, back to it. Now, organic acid testing, it's called OAT in the field, right? And oats are oatmeal. OAT is the test, OAT. An organic acid test tests your urine. Uses a mass spec, how do you say this? Spectrometry. Yeah, spectrometry. I always struggle with that word. It uses an evaluation of the acids within your urine to figure out if there's too much or too little, if there's some sort of an imbalance within that digestive process and the elimination process, okay? It checks for nutrient deficits, it checks for dysbiosis, yes, I mean, there's a lot of things you can identify when you do this. Test is a SIBO test. For those of you who have heard SIBO but you don't know what it is, it's small intestine bacteria overgrowth, all right? So Candida, I'm sure everyone listening today has heard of a Candida overgrowth. This is in line with that. There are 2 ways that you can test for SIBO. The much more pleasant way is a breath test. When you have an overgrowth of bacteria within your gut, what happens is you actually produce more, is it hydrogen? Yeah, hydrogen and methane. I always think of methane because the smell. So when you hear about symptoms of any sort of gut dysfunction being bad breath, typically it smells more metallic, right? More like a mercury kind of a smell, if you've ever smelled that. Or like a sulfite, smoke of some sort. And these gases are expelled, right? We always expel gases. Anything we eat, we expel gases. When there is an overgrowth, you have an overproduction of the hydrogen and the methane, which is why a SIBO test can be done as a breath. All right, it tests those levels to see where it is and to give you a good indication of if you have a bacteria overgrowth, is there a healthy balance within the microbiome of your gut? Or is it out of balance and needs to be restored back to some sort of healthy establishment? It's one of the 2. Now, there's a second way to test for SIBO, and it's not as pleasant. They basically send they send a tube down your throat and they pull out fluid from your intestines in your gut. And they use that fluid to test to see where your acid levels are and can conduct them with, um, gases that are being released, as well as actually counting bacteria. I would go with the breath test. Yeah, personal preference. Number 3 test is stool test. Now with stool and poop, you guys have heard me talk about it. I'm excited. I'm going to redo my poop and pee talk later this month. In a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about how you can tell what's happening in your body from your stool, from your urine, and from your sweat. It is probably a very disgusting topic for some of you to talk about, but it is very important because there is so much that we know and we can figure out from what we expel out of our bodies. The gases we expel, the SIBO test, the gases we expel, the urine we produce, the poop we get rid of, right? And the sweat. There's odor, there's, density, there's color, there's all these things that visually in DIY we can figure out. But then with a stool test in a lab, they actually get the microscopes out and they really dive in, because gut dysfunction can actually stem from parasites as well, which is much more common than you would imagine. It's not our topic today. We'll talk about that another day. And that will come with a very big warning because, it's not a fun topic to talk about. It's not like poop and pee, and I'm laughing and joking about that. It's not like that. And then the 4th test that you can do is an allergy or sensitivity evaluation. Now these can be done with your blood, it can be done with your hair. I've seen it done with urine and DNA, obviously DNA from your blood, and that will actually help you identify things that are triggering responses within your gut, not necessarily identify that there is an issue. It will help you identify that these things are causing problems. But if you don't connect the two, you don't know that you don't necessarily need to eliminate, just eliminate foods, you need to do other things. So when people work with me and we are dealing with food sensitivities as well as gut imbalance, we talk prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, fermented foods, and we are going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. That's going to be what you can do. All right, we're going to go through how you know without testing. We've gone through the tests. Now I want to talk to you about how you know. So with sensitivities, that evaluation, or just identifying it as you're eating and as you're living life, they identify that these foods trigger these responses, right? This food connects to this. Gut response, food. You know that there's a connection. Now, if this happens frequently, there has to be a connection to your stomach. And like I was mentioning before, if your food sensitivities seem to be running running chaotically all on their own, and they're adding up and they're building teammates, if your food sensitivities are building a team, it's time to restore your gut. It is. It's time to hit the reset button and restore your gut. Some of the symptoms that you could be having that you might just identify with having a bad day, or not necessarily that there's something wrong in your gut that needs to be healed, or that the food sensitivities that you may or may not be experiencing are causing this reaction. Do you find that you're grumpy a lot? Do you get hangry often? Dramatic mood shifts, 1 minute you're fine, 1 minute you're not. Bad breath, like I was just talking about, bad breath regardless of what you do to take care of your teeth. You can have absolutely perfect teeth, perfectly healthy teeth, perfectly healthy mouth, but you have bad breath. Why is that? Something's going on in your gut. Methane, hydrogen. Remember methane? If you've ever smelled methane gas, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It does not, it doesn't get any better coming out of the human body. I hate to be the one to break it to you. It smells the same. From a factory to the body, it smells the same. All right, some of the other things are bloating. Now with SIBO, one thing you notice is all of a sudden you look 3 months pregnant. Man or woman, doesn't matter how you were born. I don't care. Biologically, if you're male or you're female, you still will end up looking like you have a bloated belly. Okay? It's one of the side effects. Gas builds up, bloated belly. Breath test. Dark circles under your eyes that never go away. And it's not that you're not sleeping, because those of you out there with newborns, those of you out there with puppies, kittens, anything that is keeping you up at night, you can have some dark circles. Now, these dark circles are connected to gut health as well. If your gut is out of balance, dark circles show up. All right? Nausea, constipation, diarrhea, acne. Cystic acne is typically the #1 indicator of a dairy issue, FYI. Night sweats. So you're not in perimenopause, you're not in menopause, you're not going through any of that. But you wake up and you've sweated all over the bed. And all of a sudden you're changing the sheets every day, every other day, because you sweated in there randomly. Okay? Exhaustion, meaning you can't find your get up and go. All right? There's no boost. There's no way to get a boost. Even if you exercise all the time and you eat well, that get up and go, if you're missing it, it's time to look at your tummy. It is. And it's time to put some of those pieces, connect some of those pieces together. So these are great symptoms, right? But what do you do about all this? For sure. You can go through your symptoms and go, okay, I know I have issues. But what do I do about it? How do I fix the sensitivities that are related to the gut health? Because you don't know. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg. Did the sensitivities come first or did the gut health come first? One has a concrete answer. What I can find from my research, it is 50-50. In half the cases, they think the gut health came first and the sensitivities came second. In the other half of the cases I can find, they think the sensitivities came first, or the gut health came first and the sensitivities second. Yeah, you don't know. And ultimately, when you're just trying to figure out what to do and how to get healthier, it doesn't matter. So, what do you do? A few things you can do. And I wrote them down because I wanted to make sure I have everything here. I tend to forget one or two things, so I always write things down, and then later I don't think of, oh my gosh, there's this, there's this. There's a long list of things you can do in any health capacity, okay? Any condition that's out there. Some of them are similar, some of them are different, so let's get to it. #1 thing you want to do is to get your sensitivities under control, okay? No more running amok. And it's not like you can sit down like you're sitting down with your teenager and you're going, all right, new rules. Here's the house rules. We need to be on the same page. Bam, bam, bam. It doesn't work like that. The best way to do this is to go through a reset. That's ultimately the best thing. You're going to eliminate the foods that are problematic, at least in the interim. That doesn't mean they go away permanently, even if they show up on your list, unless they show up as an allergy. That is a much different report. My Body Health is sensitivities. Does not go through allergies. You have to go to an allergist for that, or go to a different practitioner, a licensed practitioner, at least to order that evaluation. The things that you want to include in your reset plan are healing foods, like coconut oil, pumpkin seeds. You're going to eliminate the harder to digest foods, red meats. It says pork. I actually prefer if people go either full vegan or they go vegetarian, maybe with some fish involved or some poultry. I don't like including pork and red meat. It is difficult for your stomach to digest. Additionally, there are foods like starches and grains that can produce resistant starch. That's, now, resistant starch, what it does is it's typically associated with the foods that our bodies, um, they call them, I'm trying to figure out how to say this, and there's no good way to say this. This is going to sound either condescending or just really ridiculously off the mark, but I promise you it is real, it is true, and it applies here. Resistant starch talks about all of the anti-nutrient foods. Now, a few weeks ago, or I think it was a few months ago, we did a chat about anti-nutrients, what they are, how to actually consume them. That's what I'm talking about. So, you eat beans and then you fart, right? If you don't eat them every day, then you fart. Your body doesn't know how to digest it well. That's what we're talking about here. And I'll get to what we can do with that in just a minute. So you're getting your sensitivities under control. You're eliminating problematic foods, at least in the interim, so that you can kind of give your body a rest. Your body needs to just get to this place where it is digesting and metabolizing easy to produce foods. Okay? Step 1, get to this place. Step 2 is stress management. Now you notice we haven't talked about supplements yet. That's number 3. Hold on. Stress management is crucial. Your immune system, your adrenal system, they all start within your gut. Okay? Perceived stress triggers responses. Now, specifically within your gut, a stress response it actually triggers inflammation within the intestinal linings. Right? So that's why you get some bloating. That's why it feels crampy, because you're in pain. Your intestines are inflamed. You're not happy. They're screaming at you. They want you to stop and take a step back. So stress management is crucial to your gut health and to healing. So one of the things that's coming out this week, and actually today, is my 3-week gut reset. First round starts August 10th. All right. For those of you who have been going through this and you don't really know what's up, you don't know which end is up, and you just want to heal, you just want someone to tell you what to do, have some professional guidance, some accountability, that's what that program is for. Does 3 weeks heal everything? It's a good start. For some of you, you're going to need a lot more than 3 weeks, but taking those first 3 weeks gives you a good kickstart and allows you to reintroduce normal foods into your diet as a healthier version of you after that 3 weeks is over. Each week we have a group session. We're going to talk about various topics. One of the things when we start our very first session, we're going to talk about foundations. And then the next week, we're going to talk about food combinations and strategies where your diet is concerned and how to eat so that you're not obsessing over your food, even during your 3-week program. You get meal plan, you get daily recipe suggestions, as well as recipes that you can follow. They're easy to prep in advance. You also get a shopping list for every single week. So you take the shopping list, you go look in your fridge, in your pantry, and you say, oh, I have this, or I don't have this. It's the ideal program for any of you who are fighting this. Now, to participate in the gut health alongside professional assistance, guidance, the classes, everything, $97. If you're a former client, you're coming back for a little bit more, or you and I are working together and you want to add this in, it's only $47. Now, if you're a former client and you want to participate, you're going to need to email me so I can send you a separate invoice. The link that's going to be included once this class is over and posted up publicly everywhere is not listed on my website. Okay. For those of you who are participating new, I do send out a questionnaire to everybody so that I know where your goals are so that I can help you the best. This ideally is the program to get into. If you're fighting and struggling this summer, it's hot enough. No, we don't need to do this. We need to heal this gut. We need to get rid of these sensitivities. We need to get you started on a healthier path. And that is what the 3-week reset is designed to do. All right, so keep your eye out for the Gut Health Reset, the link that's popping out. We will talk stress management. We'll have some stress management tactics. Some of them that you can do on your own include mindset. You can exercise. Just 10 to 15 minutes of exercise, you guys, releases endorphins and sparks happy genes. It does. It's just like, oh, I'm happy now. I'm good. Happy is good. Happy means healthy. Mental illness is there. You might be struggling with that. But if you use food to help heal these various areas of your health and your body and restore balance and homeostasis, then what ultimately will happen is the meds that you are on, that you need to be on for your mental illness, it improves. And whether, you're trying to find the one that works best for you or you found it, this just improves the quality of what those prescriptions can do for you. Because in some cases, you do need to be on prescriptions. For those of you who don't, this means you're not a grumpy little bitch. All right? We are going from grumpy to happy, healthy. Now, some people deserve the grumpy. I get it. But it doesn't mean you stay there. And unfortunately, when your gut's not happy, it likes to try and keep you in the grumpy part, right? Stress management tactics help minimize that. It brings the happy back. Gratitude journals, taking a few minutes just to write out everything in your head to get it out of there, breathing exercises. And all of these things we're going to talk about inside the Gut Health Reset. The end of this video, I am going to give you an email or a little instruction to either comment or DM me. And I actually have a PDF that I'm going to give every single one of you for free. It goes over the ins and outs of this Gut Health Reset. With the Gut Health Reset, what you're paying for is an app that contains everything together. Motivation every single day. Tracking. A place to journal things that you're seeing and you're experiencing, because it's important to understand as you're healing your gut what's happening so that in the future, this is where we're going to talk about what you can do to help moving into the future. Because you don't want to come back here. Nobody wants to come back. It's not a pleasant place to be. You don't want to be back. We want to heal and we want to move forward. Life's going to throw curveballs. It always does. But you want to heal and you want to move forward. Every single program that I put out, every single client I work with, my goal is to help you get to a point that you got this for the rest of your life. You got this. We have to be healthy and live our lives for the rest of our time on this earth, right? You don't want to have to pay someone every 3 months or every 3 weeks or whatever to do things that you can innately learn about yourself, because each one of us is different. We've learned this through several of our lives. Each one of us is very different. Part of this process is learning what's happening with you. That's why there's a notes section. That's why there's a journal section. There's even a food log section, although I will tell you, connecting it to like your Fitbit or your Apple Fit, things like that, is going to be much more, it's going to be a lot easier for you. So it connects to your favorite apps and devices. It does just about everything. It gives me a little view of what's happening. That, in conjunction with the paperwork I will send you once you sign up, helps both of us help you. So that in 3 weeks, we're talking reintroduction alongside these strategies. Getting this program, your gut healing program, your gut reset, is going to get your food sensitivities under control. It's going to start healing your gut and restoring homeostasis so that these other things that we're about to talk about can be implemented to help you maintain that for long-term wellness, not just, I did this and now I'm back in my life and this is the same as it was before. We don't do that. We go into programs and we come out better, and we just continue to be healthier and healthier and healthier. And our processes and programs become innate. It becomes so subconscious and natural, and you no longer think about it. That's why programs like that are important and crucial. And that's why I'm saying get your butt in there. If you need help, get your butt in there. I'll pop up a link at the end of this. I'll put it all over all the social media sites. So where you're listening and where you're watching, you will see it. So now let's move on. So next is to talk about supplements. Now, one of the questions I get a lot is, what's the difference between a prebiotic and a probiotic? I see food sensitivities and gut health dysfunction or imbalance on reports. My top recommendations is pre and probiotic. Typically, it's just a probiotic alongside a gut health reset diet, a healthier diet, and digestive enzymes. Okay, so here's the difference between all three of these. The prebiotics are plant fibers that help your bacteria grow. It basically feeds your body so that you can help good bacteria grow. Okay, probiotics helps maintain the balance. All right, it helps maintain that homeostasis between the good and the bad bacteria. Okay, because there has to be good and there has to be bad in the world. It just is, right? There has to be balance in everything, and probiotics help you maintain that balance. All right, that's what your good live bacteria. That's typically what they are. Is live bacteria that is fed to your body, and some of them may not survive. It's true. Some of the bacteria you put in your body may not survive. One of my favorite recommendations, I love Claire Labs, and I love the doctor formulated, I believe it's Raw Life, or something like that. Both of those are some of my favorites. Now, digestive enzymes are actually the enzymes. Sometimes it's synthetically produced, but most times they try and produce it biologically, so it comes from, organic structure. So it's a little bit more natural and bioavailable for your body. Digestive enzymes help you break down food molecules and metabolize them that might be difficult for your body to digest. So, for example, if you have a gluten sensitivity and you know that you're going out and you're going to eat gluten, you want a digestive enzyme that is specifically associated with gluten. If you accidentally have a dairy or a gluten exposure, they have digestive enzymes specifically for those that will help your body break down those molecules. Because the reason we have sensitivities is our gut is struggling to metabolize. It's struggling to break down those food particles and convert them into usable sources for our body. It's struggling with that. That's why when your gut health is out of balance, food sensitivities run amok. That's it right there. Now, digestive enzymes, what I'm talking about for a gut health reset, is I want it overall. If dairy and gluten have been an issue for you, they are top culprits here, then I typically will just recommend that someone receive or someone take the dairy and the gluten specific enzymes. But for a typical person whose food sensitivities are running all over the place, and they show on their lab reports that there's an imbalance, then just a generic digestive enzyme is really helpful. There's one, it's called Trebiotic from Claire, and it's specifically for women. And it helps us with not only our gut bacteria balance, but also our vaginal area, because one is linked to the other, you guys. All right. So now some of the other foods that help and help to maintain balance, they may not contribute to healing. Fermented foods. Okay, kefir, sauerkraut, not cauliflower, anything pickled, kombucha, yogurt, coconut milk, or no, coconut milk is an electrolyte. No, we're talking fermented foods, not coconut milk. Fermented foods are naturally produced probiotics. So fermentation creates and basically produces and grows probiotics that our body can actually use. Now, they do actually produce some gas. So if you're struggling with acid reflux or any sort of high acid production, it may not be the best option. You might want to just stick with pre and probiotics and a digestive enzyme. But the hope and the goal is that you're going to do your probiotics, some cases prebiotics as well, and digestive enzymes for short term. Typically what I say is digestive enzymes for about 4 to 6 weeks, okay? And then probiotics for 8 to 12. You want to use your diet. So between week 4 and week 8, you're going to start including some fermented foods in there so that by the time you hit that 8th week of probiotics, it's not just another supplement that you have to take every day. You need something in your world that helps your body with probiotics, right? Why not get it from the food that you eat? Doesn't mean you have to eat, pickles every day, although who would complain about that? Or that you need to eat yogurt. There's a wide variety of fermented foods out there. You can do any of them. You could switch it up every single day, which I highly recommend. You could keep it interesting. And then you don't have to take a probiotic, and the digestive enzymes can sit on your shelf for as needed process or as needed basis. You want to go out and party for a weekend? Start taking some digestive enzymes. I promise you the hangover will be so much better. And additionally, the last thing I want to tell you, at least about supplementation, is you want to make sure that you have some sort of a liver and adrenal support within there, because your digestive and your elimination system aren't just your tummy and your intestines. Remember we talked about that? So with your liver, you want some cleansing foods in there, all right? You want citrus, some melons, you want some cucumbers, you want some mints. And yes, mint is, you can add mint to just about everything. Hibiscus, pomegranate, herbal teas, dandelion. Dandelion is like the queen of cleansers and herbal medicine. It is known as the spring cleanser. And typically what happens in traditional medicine is about once or twice a year. In ancient times, it was once. Springtime, dandelion root comes out, or dandelions come out. And once they get to seed point where you blow the seeds all over the place, right? And you dig that out, you get the root, clean it up, you roast it, and it becomes a very weak tasting espresso. It's actually pretty cool. If you get the chance, go on to Amazon, look for Dandy Blend, or if you have an organic market close to you, look up Dandy Blend and try it. It's a great spring cleanser. It's something that you can add to your coffee in the mornings during the spring, and it'll just help cleanse your body. It really does. It just away. Now, with adrenal support, you do want some supplementation from herbs. So things like ashwagandha, rhodiola, garlic, oregano, they're antioxidant supports. They fight off inflammation and really just help reduce the impact of any attacks on your body, right? Autoimmune, sensitivities, balance, headaches, you name it. Ginseng, vitamin C, and of course, antioxidants, right? They help our adrenal system. They help everything stay on the up and up. They reduce the stress response, because as we talked about, perceived stress still produces a response, right? All right, so now let's talk about some dietary strategies. And these are things that are actually included. Now, the supplementation within the gut reset, that is individual. That you and I are going to talk about independent of what is within this program. I recommend all of them, but we get very specific. All right, you're going to get what is going to work best for you, taste buds and everything, especially if there's sensitivities involved. So now let's talk dietary strategies. There's a couple of things that you would do during a gut health healing, whether it's a reset, cleanse, detox, whatever you want to call it. You're going to eat your fruit without anything else, okay? Fruit can be gas producers. If you slow the digestion process, you provide an opportunity for that fruit to contribute to the gases already being expelled from your system, right? The excess gases. Now, additionally, eating too much fruit can actually feed bad bacteria instead of helping good bacteria. So you don't want to overdo the fruit. Typically with fruit, you want somewhere between about 2 to 3 servings a day. Now, a serving is, your hand, right? About half a cup or so. And you really want to stick with that during any sort of health reset. And while you're in that health reset, try to avoid the fruits that are high in sugar. So grapes, cherries, my nutritionist, oh my gosh, you ruined grapes for me, you guys, and I'm sorry if I'm going to ruin grapes for you. My nutritionist called grapes little balls of sugar, okay? And these little balls of sugar contribute to your bad bacteria because they're obviously sweet, right? So as you're going through a healing and a reset, you want to make sure that you're not eating the fruit that is high in sugar. So you want to maintain, have some, it's summer, have some berries, have some watermelon, have some lemons and limes, maybe some grapefruit. Try to stay away from the oranges. A lot of times they're too sweet. Pineapples are great antioxidants. They have some bromelain, which actually help in so many areas around the body. Bananas, maybe half a banana, which actually is recommended serving. If you can see my bananas back there, they're about this big. Cut the sucker in half. Yes, I know it turns the end brown. But bananas are a concentrated form of carbohydrate, and while they are healthy for you, in the situation where you're trying to restore homeostasis, it can be a little bit too much sweet. Okay, it can be a little too much in terms of the sugar content, and it can throw too much into your bad bacteria. So you're trying to balance that. Well, you really do want to stay more with the berries and the citrus and the melons, things of that nature. Apples and pears are pretty good. They're not, they're sweet for sure, but you can go ahead and eat those and just, variety and moderation. All right, so now starches and grains are always eaten with vegetables. And this is where we talk about resistant starch. So resistant starch is basically, it's a phytic acid that is produced when you cook starches or you cook grains, okay? And it's that whole anti-nutrient thing. If you boil your potatoes or you cook your potatoes, okay, and then you rinse them off, you cool them down, and then you come back and you reheat them to eat them, now you've basically diffused the resistant starch. There isn't going to be a production of the phytic acid. And that phytic acid is not going to cause any issues in digestion. It makes the food much easier to digest and metabolize and turn into a bioavailable form. So your body actually has usable sources within the food that you're eating. You want to eat food that's not, useful. I want to eat good food that my body can actually use versus storing in a fat cell or eliminating, right? Excess elimination causes issues too. So now, what are some of the things that you should have on this diet? You want to try and keep it gluten-free. And the only reason I say that is because gluten is a trigger for sensitivities and intolerances a lot of the time. And if you're having difficulty digesting foods, then the chances that you're going to have a difficult time digesting and metabolizing gluten are pretty freaking high. So just eliminate the gluten, stick with your quinoa, stick with sweet potatoes, Japanese sweet potatoes. For those of you who like red potatoes, russet potatoes, things like that, the white potatoes, try a Japanese sweet potato. It is not as sweet as your traditional conventional sweet potato that you find on the shelf. Okay? You can throw your sour cream on it, which in this case I would highly recommend not doing until afterward. But it's really good. It's actually something you could bake it, like a baked potato. My husband calls them bakers. You can make a baker. All right. Now with these starches and grains, you want to eat starches and grains only with your vegetables. Don't add protein into it, right? Now with this reset, along with any of the others, I always have people eating 4 to 6 times a day. So you're eating much smaller meals, right? Easier to digest, remember, that's the goal. You're eating much smaller meals and you're splitting them up. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to have one meal and then a second meal and then fruit and then one meal and a second meal and then fruit. I'll tell you about the third meal in just a second. So the starches with the veggies help reduce production of gases. It contributes to good bacteria, and the metabolization of it, actually, the veggies help the starches and the grains get digested. Plant-based diet wins every freaking time. All right, so now starches and grains you actually only want to eat with fruits and vegetables. That doesn't mean you have to eat starches and grains throughout your diet. You don't. I promise you don't. All right, so now the third dietary suggestion and the third dietary guideline for this program, and for any gut reset you should do, or you do, is you're eating proteins with vegetables and healthy fats. Now you notice I did not say healthy fats with the starches, the grains, and the veggies, right? In order for the protein to digest, it requires more of an acidic environment, right? And what we're mostly talking about is animal protein, because some veggies are plant-based protein, right? We're talking about animal proteins. We're talking about legumes. We're talking about nuts. We're talking about seeds, right? So while it may be great to have coconut yogurt with seeds, you're not going to do that. Not during this program. Okay, you can have your yogurt individual, right? Or you can throw it in a green smoothie. Now that is the only caveat here. It is the only time you will mix fruits and vegetables during this program, is if you're using a green smoothie as one of your alternatives. So now the way that I always work this is I alternate them because it's just much easier. And what you will find within each specific meal plan and daily recipes is there's actually a strategic process that has been created within this diet plan, okay? So you're not necessarily going to alternate grain, fruit, and protein. Your body's going to heal. It's going to return to homeostasis. If you are DIYing this, then I highly recommend you just rotate this. Eat your fruit solo, have your starches and your veggies, have your protein, veggie, and fats, and then repeat or reverse it. I don't like fruit first thing in the morning. I would much rather you had protein and veggies with the fats first thing in the morning. Start off with a good solid energy producer right there, and then go to your starches and then your fruit so that you have something substantial in your system, because fruit solo digests very, very quickly, right? And will actually leave you hungry quicker. It's just one of those things. Now, a question I get a lot when I talk about this is, what about apple cider vinegar? Apple cider vinegar is an excellent healer for the gut. It is, and I hate saying that because it's a contributing tool. It is a contributing tool. It is not necessarily the best option for people, okay? It is not a cure-all. It is not something you should be having every single day. Your body needs a rest from it. So if you take apple cider vinegar every day, what you want to do is take 1 or 2 days a week where you just don't take it. That's it. If you actually drink it, you want to make sure it goes straight down your throat, does not touch your teeth, because it will degrade the acid on your teeth. All right, you gotta be very careful. It's like essential oils. If you drink anything with essential oils in it, which I only recommend in medicinal situations, you want to make sure it goes down your throat, does not touch your teeth, because the acid will degrade the coating on your teeth. It will start decaying your teeth, and you have health here, but you degrade it here. Balance, right? We're always talking about balance. Let me see this. Now, apple cider vinegar can contribute to decreasing the bloat, improving your digestion. It contains a component called aiatic, I think I'm pronouncing that correct, aiatic acid. Okay, and that is its basically primary constituent, healing constituent, I guess is a good way to say that. I'm trying to say that so that I don't get in trouble. Because there's words that we use behind the scenes and there are words that we use publicly to make sure that we stay within regulation of the FDA, CDC. Health is not conventional health and isn't viewed that way. All right, so apple cider vinegar actually does also suppress the growth of H. pylori, right? It's one of our primary bacteria. If there's an overgrowth of it, it acts like a little teenager, having a little hissy fit. If there's a healthy balance of it, we're good. Now, if you don't have a healthy balance, apple cider vinegar it's not going to be helpful, especially if you're taking a probiotic and digestive enzyme and a prebiotic. If you're taking all three of those, now you're contributing to your gut health, right? You're trying to improve it, but then if you take apple cider vinegar, you're kind of eliminating some of the healthy benefits that you're producing or that you're giving your body. So when you're doing any sort of healing, I don't recommend apple cider vinegar to everybody. Apple cider vinegar does alkalize the body. So if you've been listening for any sort of time, ACV helps alkalize the body, which prevents cancer cell growth, right? And it decreases. If you have high blood pressure, apple cider vinegar is actually really helpful for overall health and well-being on a regular basis, with breaks. Now, I want to send out one more warning. Because there are benefits and detriments to ACV, that is the biggest reason apple cider vinegar is typically a unique and individual recommendation. I do not include it in any PDF. I don't include it in any program that I put out, because I believe that with the ins and the outs, and there's a lot of ins and outs with ACV, you guys. With all of these, it's important to understand which ones apply to you and which ones don't. And sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees because we're seeing a mirror of ourselves. We're seeing what we want to see. We're not necessarily seeing reality. The one thing I do recommend for everybody, and if you're having any sort of gut dysfunction issue, if you have suffered from any of the symptoms we talked about initially in this class, then start drinking lemon ginger tea first thing in the morning. Okay? It's technically lemon ginger water, but it's prepped like a tea. So you either use the fresh fruit or you use a tea bag. Your choice. Okay? Yes, obviously fresh fruit is much better, but not always possible. I have one chick that is traveling, and she started a program right in the middle, or right before she was traveling. So instead of taking the fresh fruit or worrying about having to find out where she's traveling to, she's using tea bags. It's the perfect thing. When I travel, I take tea bags. And I don't drink the lemon ginger tea every single day now. I drink it when I know that I'm feeling off. When you're doing a health reset, this is an excellent, whether it's in doing lifestyle transformation, whether it's this gut healing, or if it's something else. Regardless of what your focus is, lemon ginger tea first thing in the morning is actually an excellent idea. It kickstart your day with citrus, antioxidant boosts. Your immune system loves the amount of vitamin C, and the ginger just loves coating and giving your tummy a nice little hug. Now, the way it's prepped, half lemon, and basically like that much ginger minced, maybe a little bit more if you like it spicy, and about 6 to 8 ounces of water. And you want to heat up the water just like you normally would for tea, and let it steep for at least 10 minutes. What I typically do is I'll make it at night so that the morning I can drink it. You want to drink it room temperature or warmer if you can handle it. Some of you have had to drink it cold and you still get the benefits. It's fine. It's just easier for your body to absorb in a warmer temperature. That's it. And that's the one that it really has minimal side effects. It's not going to tear up the acid in your gut. It's not going to, try and increase and deflect any other support that you're doing, any other healing you're going to do. It really just supports whatever it is that you do. Okay. The detriments and the benefits with ACV, it's a 50-50 shot, y'all. It really is. All right, so now you got all this information and you healed your gut. How do you not come back here? What do you do so you never have to even revisit this topic? Or at least if you do, you know exactly what to do and how to come back. Prevention. And prevention without stress. Let me make that very clear. Prevention without stress. You want it to become innate, you want it to become natural and normal, and not something that you have to consciously be so mindful of that it's your sole focus. Okay? So now there's a couple of things. Very first thing, focus on a plant-based diet. Okay? If you eat vegetables and fruits, and you have this healthy balance between your macros, especially within your proteins, so that you've got an 80-20 rule kind of all over everything. So carbohydrates, 80% vegetables, 20% grains and starches. Proteins, 80% vegetables, 20% animal products, if you eat them. Seems pretty legit, right? 80-20 rule also applies to indulgences. 80% healthy, on point, 20% whatever. All right? It applies to a lot of things. You'll hear it often. But it's something that gives you a good balance without throwing yourself into a position where you're at risk, where you're open for either an attack within your body or externally into. Okay? Keep your balance, follow the 80-20 rule. Don't stress about it. Seriously, stress contributes to the negative, not the positive. So manage the stress. All right? Eat everything that you want to eat in moderation, and make sure you have a lot of variety. Variety is the spice of life. And when you have a variety and you're eating a lot of different foods, your body and your brain, your subconscious, assumes there is an abundance around you. You will never run out of sustenance. You will never run out of nourishment. So it's happy. It feels like if it's hungry and it needs extra, it can send you a signal and it will get it. That there will not be an issue with you struggling to find something that it needs. And the cravings and the signals, as some of you have learned in one of the previous live episodes, are signals that tell us what our bodies need, right? All right, so a couple of things to pay attention to. A, we talked about it, you want lots of veggies. Hydration. We've not talked about water in this episode. Hydration is key. Hydration is so crucial to just overall wellness, long-term wellness, short-term wellness, everything. You want to make sure you're drinking at least half your body weight in water every single day. And adjust, increase that amount if you're in extreme heat, if you're exercising in extreme heat, if you're doing any extra activities that you wouldn't normally do. Adjust and modify for that. If you're sick or you're fighting something, you're going to want more fluids into your system. Okay. With animal proteins or animal products, the one thing I want you to be mindful of are hormones. Okay. When you're fighting some sort of a gut imbalance, a lot of times what happens is it's going to screw not only with your body's ability to digest food, but it can screw with your hormones too. It can actually screw up all your functions, and they just start ticking off things. It just starts going down the line. After digestion, you're going to have your hormones. Okay? And that can be its own issue, and that's actually a whole separate episode. So with animal products, you want to make sure the things that you consume don't contain any hormones. We got enough hormones in our bodies. We do not need to contribute to that production. We don't, especially those of you on any sort of hormone therapy. You do not need to contribute. So make sure that your animal products are hormone free. All right. And with the foods that were problematic, remember the whole premise to all of this was that food sensitivities are connected to gut health, right? And how do we minimize this and ditch those food sensitivities? This is how. You minimize your consumption of the foods that were problematic for a year. Does that mean you stop eating them? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Depends on the severity of your response. Okay? In some cases, your gut might take 4 to 6 months to heal. You want to give yourself time, be patient. Make sure that you fully heal and start reintroducing some of those foods. I would start with your favorites because you're going to miss those. So start with your favorites and start reintroducing them. Some people have taken a year or longer before they've been able to reintroduce them. And that's how long their gut took to fully heal. It was that damaged. And I'm not saying that's everybody. I've had people come back after 6 weeks and then reintroduce every single food that was on their sensitivity list, and I've never had an issue since. And when they do a report now, majority of them, it's been years. But when they do a report now, those sensitivities don't show up. It's a completely different report. So you have the possibility of reintroducing a lot of these foods and not eliminating them from life. So as you're going through a gut health reset, right, specifically as you're going through my 3-week gut health reset, we're going to eliminate the foods that are most problematic for you. And then we're going to reintroduce them so that you can look and journal and find out how your body actually responds, because that's going to determine how frequently you can eat them while your gut heals. Until you start just including them in rotation of your moderation and variety. Then you move on and you live life and you don't think about it again. Seems pretty simple, right? That's the goal. That is the goal. There's a couple of different things. If you start getting sick or you start feeling like you're fighting something, seasonal allergies kick up. Texas, in a few more months, cedar season's going to hit. You want to start taking a probiotic. Sometimes a digestive enzyme. Keep it on hand just in case. Especially those of you that find out that you have intolerances like I do to dairy, or you have any sort of gluten sensitivity or celiac. Have a digestive enzyme on hand. It really is helpful. And the very last tip I'm going to leave you with is to look for positive all over. If you need a task to do, look for hearts in the world. My sister sees hearts everywhere. Everywhere. Her universe shows her hearts everywhere she looks. It's the thing. Mine shows me butterflies. I love it. I love it. I love my butterfly tattoos. I am excited to see butterflies in my world. Dragonflies, things like that. So look for some hearts. If you need just something to do to keep you in a positive mindset, because what you look at, what you focus on, grows. Our body likes positive. Positive means healthy and happy. Right? That helps us heal and helps us maintain long-term wellness. And it's something simple you can do every single day. Teach the littles to do it. They'll point them out to you. They're pretty good. They have a great imagination. It doesn't matter if it's your littles or the neighbors. Have them start pointing things out to you. It's crazy the difference it makes in how you feel. Right? All right. So now we've reached the end, and I promised you a freebie. Remember that PDF? All right, so here's what I want you to do. If you're interested in receiving the PDF, I want you to either DM me or comment below, happy tummy. And when I see that, I will send it to you. It's not necessarily something I have in a link. I would just send you a PDF file. I found that having a link somewhere could be problematic, and there's way too many viruses running around right now. There really are. So I want to put it in a secure place so that when you go to download it, it doesn't take anything with it. All right, so comment or DM me, happy tummy, and I will send that right over. It gives you the ins and outs to the 3-week gut reset. And if it's not something that you're interested in, it's something that you could do right now to help your gut health and restore some homeostasis to your body. All right. If you're interested in the 3-week reset, that link will be posted momentarily. And we have an open cart, you guys. So let's get to it, Tilly. All right. I love you guys. I will chat with y'all later. Monday, we have a new topic to talk about, so I will see you on Monday if you are in the Healthy on a Wild War group or on YouTube or LinkedIn. If you are not in any of those 3 places, let me know. I will give you the links. All right, guys, I will chat with you later. Have a happy Wednesday, and don't forget, DM Happy Tummy. Bye, y'all.